Welcome back to the Bleachverse, guys. So, the battle between zombie Hitsugaya and Mayuri was without a doubt one of the highlights of Core 2. Aside from the ruthless feats we witnessed from the zombie version of Toshiro, not enough has been covered about the genius we witnessed from the 12th Division GOAT himself, Mayuri-sama. In particular, one of the biggest questions that has been bugging me since Core 2 ended is how Mayuri so covertly managed to administer his post-cognition drug onto the unsuspecting zombified Toshiro without him or even the audience noticing it. Ultimately, we only get to see Mayuri rhetorically ask Toshiro when he thinks the drug was administered, but no clear answer is revealed after all is said and done. Now, after a little digging around and some much needed retrospect, I think I may have found out the exact time when Mayuri administered the drug to the unsuspecting zombified Hitsugaya, and in this video, I am going to break this down and share my reasons as to why I think my suspicions might be correct. I will be sharing my reasons as to why I made my conclusion in the last segment of this video, so do stick around until then to find out the reasons for my hypothesis. Before we get into the meat of the video, a brief recap of the events leading up to the final showdown between Mayuri and Toshiro is necessary just to put things into perspective. So, the prelude to the battle starts with our man Hitsugaya marching into the battlefield after Giselle summons him. Shortly after his menacing reveal as Giselle's puppet, our dude Toshiro moves quickly and makes easy work of Ikaku and Yumichika with some ruthless attacks that showcase the savagery of this new zombified version of himself. After easily dispatching the 11th squad honchos, our savage zombie then moves to confront Mayuri. However, before he moves to attack, Mayuri's Arrancar vassal, Charlotte, steps in to confront Toshiro. In response, Hitsugaya savagely slices him up real good, decapitating his arm and leaving a deep gash on his torso. But before Toshiro can deal the death blow, Mayuri saves his test subject by setting up a barrier that stops Toshiro's killing swing. Thereafter, the battle between the two captains begins, and after a fierce sword melee, zombie Toshiro takes the fight to the next level by releasing his bankai and seemingly proceeds to kill the shocked Mayuri. However, shortly after, the scene repeats and eventually Toshiro realizes he's caught in a time loop. After several loops, Toshiro eventually collapses as the post-cognition drug begins to take effect. Now, during the clash between the two captains, we do not get any clear instance where we see Mayuri administer any drug, so then we have to ask ourselves, when exactly does Mayuri actually drug Toshiro? Well, the answer lies in the revelation Mayuri makes about his zombie squad in the scene where he encounters the other zombified captains Rose and Kensei. In this scene, Mayuri's Arrancar face off with the captains, and shortly after, the zombified captains eventually also fall under the trance of the drug. So, in the revelation, Mayuri explains that the blood of his Arrancar is actually infused with the post-cognition drug, and therefore any contact with the blood ultimately introduces a drug into the system of the person who is exposed to the Arrancar's blood. Therefore, the bloody bruises that the zombified captains inflict on the Arrancar expose them to the lethal blood and therefore consequently to the post-cognition drug infused within it. Now, this is the same way I suspect that the zombified Toshiro gets exposed to the drug during his battle with Mayuri. Actually, I suspect that the exposure happens slightly before the battle with Mayuri begins when he is confronted by the Arrancar Charlotte. So during their brief onslaught, we see Toshiro get the better of the far weaker Charlotte and slice him up pretty good. Now, it is during this attack against Charlotte that I personally suspect that the zombie Toshiro gets exposed to the drug. This is because during his vicious attack, we see quite a large splatter of blood gush from the decapitated hand of Charlotte and his deep torso wound, and judging from the anime footage, there is a very high likelihood some of this large amount of blood most likely splatters on Toshiro since he is standing right in front of him after the attack. Sadly, we do not get any close-up shots on his clothing or elsewhere on his body to confirm this, as afterwards in the immediate scene that follows, we only get to see Toshiro's face and not any significant portions of his torso or hands. Now, my main reason for speculating that Charlotte is the agent that administered the post-cognition drug to Toshiro is because Mayuri himself admits later during his scene with the zombified Rose and Kensei that the only way he administers the drug was through contact with his Arrancar's blood. Therefore, since we do not get to see the zombified Toshiro shed the blood of any other Arrancar except Charlotte, it is highly likely that the attack he lodges on Charlotte is what ultimately exposes him to Mayuri's superhuman drug. Anyway, at this point of the video, I'm really curious to hear your thoughts about my theory, so I want to turn over the discussion to the audience. Are there any other theories that you may have heard or read about as to how Toshiro might have come into contact with the drug? I'd really like to hear your 2 cents about it, so let's chop it up more in the comment section. As always, if you did enjoy the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more great content. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.